The stage was set. The studio lights shined down on the polished desk, the audience seated, the cameras rolling. Tonight's guest? Elon Musk. The billionaire, engineer, and controversial figure in the tech and space industries was making an appearance on one of the most watched political talk shows in the country. At the opposite end of the table sat Jonathan Pierce, a well-known liberal host, infamous for his sharp criticisms of billionaires, corporations, and government subsidies. For the past few months, his show had been relentless in attacking SpaceX, claiming that Musk's ambitious space projects were environmentally destructive, taxpayer-funded luxuries for the rich, and that Mars colonization was nothing more than science fiction escapism. The tension in the air was thick. Jonathan adjusted his tie, took a deep breath, and leaned in toward Musk. "Elon, let's get straight to the point." He tapped his pen against his notes. "Critics say that SpaceX is an environmental disaster. You're launching rockets that burn thousands of tons of fuel, polluting the atmosphere while millions struggle with climate change here on Earth. Doesn't that make you part of the problem?" Some audience members nodded in agreement. Others waited. Elon Musk? He barely blinked. He let the question hang in the air for a moment, just long enough for everyone to feel the weight of it. Then, with the calm confidence of a man who had answered much harder questions before, he leaned forward and delivered a response that would shake the entire room. Elon Musk didn't flinch. He simply tilted his head slightly, a small knowing smile forming on his lips. The kind of smile that said, "I was waiting for this question." Then, in his signature calm and methodical tone, he replied, "Jonathan, let me ask you something. Do you know what percentage of global CO2 emissions come from all the rockets launched in a year?" The host hesitated. This wasn't the response he expected. Well, I know it's significant," Jonathan replied, shifting in his seat. Elon nodded slightly, already knowing where this was going. "No, it's not," Musk said plainly. "All rocket launches on Earth contribute less than 0.0001% of annual carbon emissions. Commercial airliners produce several orders of magnitude more." The audience stirred. The number wasn't just small, it was microscopic. Jonathan adjusted his glasses, scrambling to regain control. "Okay, but let's talk about the fuel itself," he pressed. "You're using methane-based rockets which still contribute to atmospheric pollution. Isn't that contradicting your own mission for sustainability?" Musk smirked. "Methane is actually the cleanest fuel we can use for rocketry at scale," he explained. "Not only is it more efficient, but guess what? SpaceX is working on making it 100% renewable. We're developing technology to extract methane from CO2 in the atmosphere. So, if anything, our rockets in the future will actually help remove carbon, not add to it." Boom. A murmur spread through the crowd. Even some of Jonathan's most loyal viewers were nodding in agreement. Jonathan blinked. This wasn't going as planned. Musk could have stopped there, but he wasn't done. "Jonathan, if you're really concerned about the environment, why aren't you questioning industries that pollute 1,000 times more than rockets?" The host was silent. He had no answer, and the moment was about to go viral. Jonathan cleared his throat. He could feel the conversation slipping away from him. This was supposed to be a takedown, not a masterclass in spaceflight. The audience wasn't just listening to Elon Musk now, they were leaning in. Jonathan tried to regain control. "Okay, Elon," he said, forcing a smile. "Even if SpaceX isn't the worst offender, what about the ethics? Shouldn't we focus on fixing Earth first instead of spending billions on Mars?" A few in the audience clapped. This was the question Jonathan was banking on. If Musk admitted Earth should take priority, it would undermine his entire Mars mission. But Elon? He was ready. He smiled, not a defensive smile, but the smile of a man who had thought about this for years. Then, he leaned in. "Jonathan, let me ask you something," Musk said, his tone steady. "How much of NASA's budget do you think comes from U.S. taxes?" The host paused, caught off guard. I assume it's a lot?" Musk nodded. Sure, it sounds like a lot. NASA gets about $25 billion a year, but that's less than 0.5% of the entire US budget. In fact, Americans spend more on video streaming services than on space exploration. Silence. The audience shifted. So when people say, "Why spend money on space when we have problems on Earth?" the real question is, why are we okay spending more money on entertainment than on advancing human civilization? Jonathan opened his mouth, then closed it. For the first time in the interview, he had nothing. Elon could have stopped there, but he didn't. Because this wasn't just about winning a debate. This was about changing minds. And what Musk was about to say next would shatter the argument completely. The silence was deafening. Jonathan leaned back slightly, gripping his pen. The confidence he had at the start of the interview was crumbling. Elon Musk saw it. And now? He was about to deliver the knockout. "Let me explain why space exploration isn't just a rich guy hobby," Musk continued, his voice calm but firm. "Earth won't last forever. That's just a fact. Whether it's a natural disaster, an asteroid, climate change, or even something we haven't predicted yet. At some point, humanity needs a backup plan." The audience was glued to him. He raised a hand, emphasizing his next words. "We don't wait until the last second to start thinking about survival. We prepare. That's why we have fire departments, insurance policies, emergency rooms. So why would we treat our entire species any differently?" Boom. Even Jonathan blinked. Because in that moment, it wasn't just about Mars. It was about the entire future of humanity. Musk wasn't just talking about rockets. He was talking about survival. You see, people think space is just about exploration, but it's about preservation. A few heads in the audience nodded. Others were completely still, absorbing every word. Even Jonathan, who had been on the attack all night, couldn't ignore the logic. But he wasn't ready to give up. He forced a smile, gripping his notes tightly. "Elon, I hear you. But let's be real. Most people won't be able to afford a trip to Mars. Isn't this just an escape plan for billionaires?" Some clapped. He had one last chance to spin this. But Musk. He was already 10 steps ahead. His next words would flip the entire debate upside down. The audience held its breath. Jonathan Pierce had one last shot. His claim that Mars was just a billionaire escape plan had stirred a reaction. He sat forward, waiting for Elon Musk to fumble. But Musk didn't blink. Instead, he smiled. A calm, confident smile that only comes from knowing you've already won. Then, in a slow, deliberate voice, he said, "Jonathan, let me ask you something. How expensive do you think air travel was when it first started?" Jonathan hesitated. I suppose it was very expensive." Musk nodded. "Right. Only the rich could afford to fly at first. But over time, technology improved, costs dropped, and now millions of people fly every day. The same thing will happen with space travel." Jonathan froze. He hadn't thought of that. Musk leaned in slightly, lowering his voice just enough to pull the entire room into the moment. "Right now, going to space is expensive. But in the future, as we build better rockets and increase flights, costs will drop. Just like airplanes. Just like cars. Just like every major technological breakthrough in history. Mars isn't just for billionaires. It's for humanity." Boom. The audience murmured. Some clapped. Others nodded in quiet realization. The host shifted uncomfortably. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. This was supposed to be an attack on Musk. Instead, it had turned into a vision for the future of humanity. Jonathan forced a laugh, trying to recover. "Well, Elon, I have to admit, you have a way with words." Musk simply shrugged. "It's not about words, Jonathan. It's about reality. You either build the future, or you get left behind." The audience erupted in applause. Musk sat back, calm and collected. Jonathan sighed. He had lost. And the internet was about to explode. Within hours, clips of the interview flooded the internet. Social media platforms exploded. Elon Musk just destroyed this host with pure logic, absolute masterclass. This is why he's the smartest guy in the room. The host never stood a chance. I came in skeptical, but damn, Musk actually made me rethink space travel. The full video was uploaded to YouTube, and within 24 hours, it had over 10 million views. The comment section? A war zone. Some were praising Musk for his brilliant argument. Others were still trying to push back. But the overwhelming reaction? Respect. Even people who disagreed with Musk admitted that his logic was undeniable. Meanwhile, journalists, analysts, and influencers scrambled to weigh in. A well-known scientist tweeted, "Regardless of where you stand on Musk, his argument about space colonization and cost reduction is spot on. This is how progress works." Another tech CEO chimed in, "Love him or hate him, Elon just showed why he's one of the greatest thinkers of our time." But the biggest surprise? Even some of Musk's harshest critics were admitting that Jonathan had been outmatched. One liberal commentator, who had previously mocked Musk, tweeted, "I won't lie. I went in thinking Elon was going to crash and burn, but the dude made some damn good points." And Jonathan Pierce? He stayed quiet. For 3 whole days he didn't post anything. No rebuttal, no damage control. Because he knew there was no coming back from this. Musk had done what he always did. He had turned the attack into an opportunity. And in the process, he had won over millions. 3 days after the interview, Jonathan Pierce finally broke his silence. He released a carefully worded statement on Twitter. "Healthy debate is important. I respect Elon Musk's passion, though I still believe environmental concerns must be taken seriously. Regardless, it was a fascinating discussion." Translation? He knew he lost, and he wasn't about to challenge Musk again. But for Elon, this was just another day in the life. A week later, he was back to running SpaceX, Tesla, and Twitter X, his focus already on the next big thing. But the world hadn't moved on. Universities started using his argument as a case study in debate classes. Business schools discussed his leadership and ability to handle criticism. Tech analysts wrote think pieces about how SpaceX had reshaped the future of space travel. The ripple effect was massive. One clip from the interview, where Musk said, "You either build the future or you get left behind," became one of the most shared motivational quotes of the year. Even NASA weighed in, with one of their lead engineers posting, "Elon is right. Space isn't just a dream, it's a necessity." And as for Musk, he finally tweeted about the viral moment, in the most Elon Musk way possible. Good talk. Simple, director, and absolutely perfect. Because Musk didn't need to gloat. The entire world already knew. He had just won the debate of the year. And as SpaceX prepared for its next major launch, one thing was certain. The future of space travel had never looked brighter.